I just found Reno's airmail arrow. What is that, you say? Well, stay with me. In order to get there, I had to take a hike up on the Steamboat Ditch trail, which apparently a lot of people have and do, but this was my first time. While I was up there, I wondered about the ditch, and I Googled it while I was up there, and I found out that it's old. Like really old. Like 140 years old. And the arrow of which we seek is more than a century old itself. So here's a fun hike that you can do in a morning or an afternoon in the hills just above Reno. This trail is steeper than I thought it would be, but we'll get her done. This is a great hike, and I might even get rained on. Hopefully not, so we're gonna keep pushing on. It's beautiful up here, just outside of Reno city limits. This trail meanders right along this little ditch up in the hills. So once you get up the incline of the small mountain, then it should be pretty level, smooth sailing. You know, I've heard about the Steamboat Ditch. I've always known it was up here, I guess you could say, but I have never really spent any time near this. And so just a few minutes ago, I looked up on Google, and it turns out there's a pretty cool, unique history about this. Isn't technology amazing? You can be anywhere and get information. I think I recently heard Elon Musk say that you could be in the Amazon forest with a satellite hookup and have access to the world at your fingertips. It still blows me away. The Steamboat Ditch is an irrigation canal that runs for more than 30 miles in the foothills above Reno. It starts near Reno, Nevada, and ends up in Steamboat Creek just south of Reno, hence the name. Construction started in 1878 after the contract to construct it was awarded to a Chinese-American company in San Francisco. Somewhere between 150 and 200 Chinese folks were employed to dig out approximately 30 miles of waterway in the mountains above the then small town of Reno. It's possible that some of these workers were the same ones employed in building the Transcontinental Railroad, which was completed through Reno 10 years earlier in 1868. My question is, where did they put all the earth that they had to take out to make this trench? It wasn't trucked out, of course. Perhaps it was just offloaded to the side and it's just eroded down over the ensuing decades. The Territorial Enterprise newspaper reported at the time that this ditch is one of the largest and most important of the entire system of irrigation of Washoe County. It was formally opened on July 1st, 1880. Today the canal and its access road is owned by various private and corporate landowners, HOAs, utilities, and governments. The road, which winds right alongside the canal, is fairly level, which makes it a popular destination for hikers and mountain bikers. And I think even horses are allowed. I started my walk from a small parking area behind the Patagonia warehouse in late June, and due to the historic snows we've had this past winter and the frequent spring rains, the terrain up here is fairly lush by Nevada standards. I was telling myself that it looked kind of like a nature preserve up there. A mountain biker I passed told me that he puts in an area just off Woodchuck Circle near Collin Ranch. I'm thinking I might try a bike ride starting from there sometime. It's mind-blowing to me that this canal is still viable and in use for water transport 143 years after it was constructed. Experiencing and learning about the Steamboat Ditch was ancillary, however, to the real purpose of this hike, to find the big concrete arrow in the hills above northwest Reno. To get there from the parking area behind Patagonia, there are two pretty good inclines. One immediately at the beginning, which gets you up to the ditch with several switchbacks, and another even steeper climb just after you pass the hole in the wall,
where the Chinese had to bore a hole through the terrain to get the water through. Luckily, they didn't have to accomplish this feat very often over the course of the 30-mile waterway. After that last incline, the trail lowers into this open area, which was selected 100 years ago by engineers that were constructing this method to improve the mail service.
This giant concrete arrow in the hills above Reno was part of the Transcontinental Airway system, which was put into place in the 1920s to help airmail pilots navigate across the country.
This station was one of several hundred on the airmail route stretching from San Francisco to New York, and this string of stations was completed in 1925. The concrete arrow was poured first, which pointed to the location of the next beacon, which was located approximately every 10 miles, but this could vary with the terrain. A beacon was located on top of a steel tower directly over the arrow, which was 53 feet high, the approximate length of the arrow itself. A small shed was constructed at the tail end, which housed a generator in case there was no power service nearby. The purpose of these guidance stations was to improve the mail service in the days before modern navigation. The ability to move the mail at night by air as opposed to the rail system improved the delivery time cross-country by 2 business days. The beacons themselves were 6 million candle power and rotated once every 10 seconds. Their effectiveness was limited by weather conditions and certainly fog. By 1933, several more of these routes were installed between major cities across the country, and at the height of the program, 1,500 of these beacons were installed covering routes totaling 18,000 miles. As technology improved, this beacon system became less and less relevant, and the whole system was pretty much obsolete by the 1960s. During World War II, many of these arrows were taken out to prevent aiding enemy pilots from navigating the country. Today, you can still find locations like this one across Nevada and the country in several states of disrepair. From up here, you have a great panoramic view of the transportation corridor between the city of Reno and where the highway and the railroad start to ascend the Sierra Nevada mountains. This route was also used by migrating Native Americans and by immigrants heading west on the Truckee River route of the California Trail.
All right, I hope you enjoyed this little excursion. That was several miles for me hiking in there and back, and I don't do that all the time. But feels good, and I will recover with the help of a beer, a craft beer. One of the greatest things about this hike is at the end of the trail at the bottom of the hill is a brew house. The Brewer's Cabinet has a facility right here in the kind of an industrial part of West Reno, right near the river. And today I stopped in at the end and got a refreshment, a amber ale. Tastes really good. And don't worry, I had water at the end of the trip. My wife always bugs me about that. Here I am staying hydrated. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please click that little subscribe button. Lets us know that you're watching, and you'll be able to find out about new episodes as we make them. So as Harold Smith Sr. of Harold's Club always said, I'm with you. Cheers. This giant concrete arrow behind me was put into place. This giant concrete